All right, guys. So as you can see here, desktop pretty clean. There's nothing on here for this video. And I'm going to go into the EVNG folder. Like I said in the previous video, this is the first thing I'm going to go over. And I'm going to highlight everything I have in here and the purpose and what it's used for in getting EVNG up and running. And again, I know the CCNA is an entry-level certification, of course, kind of more intermediate now, getting more into that experienced novice level with the CCNA exam. But I'm going to try to be slow, go over what these files are, what the extensions mean. Because when I first jumped into IT, I didn't even know what an executable file was. That's how technically unaware I was. So again, I'm going to take this nice and slow. So in this folder, my EVNG setup folder, the first thing I have, and I'm going to try to do this in chronological order of how you would install and get EVNG up and running, is the VMware player executable. If we run this file, so if we double click, run as administrator, it's going to install VMware Workstation Player. This is a type 2 hypervisor, which allows us to run guest operating systems from our host operating system, which is my Windows 11 desktop. And it does this with an application. You can actually see it running right here in the background, that application. So VMware Workstation Player lets you deploy virtual machines, and EVNG is a virtual machine that you access via a web page to run your sandbox network environment. Okay, and then we have our actual EVNG VM, which is going to be in that folder. So if we double click this, you're going to see what we call an OVA file, which is how we're going to deploy and install that VM, which we'll get to later. And then also here, we have FileZilla. This is that FTP application I was talking about, the file transfer protocol, which we're going to go in pretty deep actually in the CCNA. Surprisingly, that's still on the exam objectives. But this is just an application to allow you to transfer files between client and server, right? It's a client-server architecture. So we are going to use this application, FileZilla, as our FTP application to transfer our images here. So these ones don't actually work, but these are viral images. Again, you got to have the paid version. I just kind of wanted to show you what it would look like. And then in this folder is going to be the iOS we actually install. It is a Cisco 7200 series router. And I will show you how to download this image file from Cisco's website. And then we have a couple other installers here. PuTTY. PuTTY is a terminal emulation program, which allows us to use SSH, Telnet, our login, and consoles to actually get into the CLI or get into a device. So in this instance, we're going to use PuTTY to SSH to our EVNG VM once it's installed and fully up. And this is going to allow us, one, to make that connection via SSH, so generate RSA keys, which is going to be important when we run Wireshark. We'll get to that later. But also we need to run some command lines, right? Or run some commands in the CLI of EVNG to get our iOS up and running. So EVNG VM is actually built off Ubuntu, which is Linux, an open source operating system. It's what we call Debian based. So compare that to RHEL, right? The other popular flavor and enterprise level support flavor of Linux. Not to get too sidetracked, but if you don't know basic Linux commands, maybe this video you'll have to go over once or twice, because we're just going to be using basic ones like making directories, the list command, the change directory command, and just simple stuff like that. But again, all these commands will be found in the EVNG documentation. And then the last executable you see here we're going to go over is the EVNG Windows Client Pack. This is going to allow us to use our native consoles or our terminal emulation programs of choice. So if I want to run Secure CRT, which you're going to get very familiar with in this course, or if I want to do a packet capture using Wireshark, I will need to install this Win Client Pack. Now, okay, When I decided to make this video, right, I had a couple choices. Do I go grab another computer in my garage and do a fresh install? Do I get a VM and do a fresh install on a Windows 11 VM? And I kind of came to the conclusion that with all the information out there about EVE-NG and all the documentation, um, I didn't need to do all that, right? So that's all to say that I already have VMware Workstation Player installed. I already have FileZilla installed. I have Putty installed. I also have this Win client pack installed. So during this video, I'm going to show you how to double click and go through the installation, but we're not going to go through the full installation, right? If you've ever installed anything on Windows, running these executables is no different. So anything that's unique to EVE-NG, we're going to go over. But installing applications, very simple, right? And you're just going to use the default selections, right? Going through a Windows installer package for like this Win client pack and FileZilla. Now, when I downloaded FileZilla, I didn't look too clearly, and it tries to get you with this PUP, that's what I call it, potentially unwanted program. And you have to say no to installing AVG secure browser. Again, it's not malicious, but if you've ever been through Sec Plus or no cybersecurity, definitely is an added software that's not part of the original package that I don't want. But again, that's okay. All right, guys. So now with that out of the way, let's jump right into it. So I'm going to go to Google. And the first thing we're going to do is download VMware Workstation Player. And we do that just by going to Google here. And you can see this second link right here I've already clicked on. We're going to click it. So VMware has done a decent job lately of, I don't know, I feel like making it a little hard to get the download for free, a little confusing. I mean, it is right here for you, but you can scroll down their website. It'll show you all the tech specs, everything about from Workstation Player, where it can be installed on. Actually has a lot of support for Linux-based systems now and Unix-based systems. So again, we just need to get up and running, right? So without getting too deep into virtualization, let's go ahead and download this. So we're going to hit download for free. We're going to come down here, go over here to go to downloads. And then we're going to hit download now. And that's going to begin our download. And again, I'm just going to hit cancel here because before I started recording, I already did that and put it in this folder, EVE-NG setup right there. Okay. Awesome. Now, some of you that have maybe done an installation of a type 2 hypervisor may be saying, well, are we missing some of the key options we may have to select in the VMware Workstation Player? And that is the case sometimes, but for this install of EVE-NG to get it up and running, if you just hit the default selections during that installation package of VMware Workstation Player, you'll be good to go, okay? So just run through that install like you would anything else on Windows computers. All right. So now that I have shown you how to download VMware Workstation Player for free, let's go ahead and download FileZilla. We'll come here to the FileZillaProject.org. We'll hit download FileZilla client. Because in this case, we're going to be the client transferring to another server. So we'll hit download FileZilla client. Again, it gives you, hey, we need our pro. We don't. And again, I'm just going to hit cancel here because I already have that downloaded. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to get some Cisco images. So if you just come here to Google and type in Cisco viral images for EVE-NG, you're going to see a lot of stuff that is not very ethical, right? Most of this stuff is, but there's going to be a lot of GitHubs and repos out there that say, hey, download this viral image. You need a Cisco account. It's like a CCO account to actually use Cisco viral images. And that's why in this video, I don't use them because I no longer have that account. What I am also going to show you is how to go ahead and get a Cisco iOS image for EVE-NG. Again, here's some more just sites that'll tell you like where to get the downloads from. But if we type in Cisco, let's try a different search, Cisco iOS download. We can come down here to software.cisco.com and hit select a product. And then you have all the iOSs available that you can download. So I do know that EVE-NG supports 7200 series routers. So I can come here. I can click the 7206 VXR. I can click software on chassis. I can click iOS software. And I can download this bin file. It's going to ask me to log in, and if I have a service contract, right? And again, that's something you'll have to figure out for your studies, right? How you're going to get the actual iOSs or viral images. In this video, I'm just showing you a couple different options. Okay. So now we've learned how to download the iOS images. Now let's head over to the EVE-NG homepage. And EVE-NG has done a great job of making their documentation a lot better over the years. I've been using EVE-NG for a couple years now and haven't been back to the homepage in a while because I just haven't needed to, right? And now when I've made this video, when I go to their documentation, it's a lot better than how I remember it, right? So in this how-to here, it's going to show you how to install and get working every single software that it supports or it emulates. Pretty cool. So when we go to actually install our iOS image, I'm going to click here in Cisco Dynamics Images. But before we do all that, and there you see Knox Hutchinson's videos, bunch of how-to videos, we're going to go over here to the download page, and we're going to download the EVE-NG free. The Pro Edition, again, I'm not going to bring up a checklist for you, but does have a lot of extra features. You can have role-based access in the Pro version. You can do some other, not configuration, but in the actual like sandbox environment, you can have better pictures and images uploaded, just stuff like that. But the free version's just fine. You can see here it has 2 mirrors for us to install. And we are going to get the OVF, okay? So the OVF is going to automatically install the VM for us when we go open it in VMware Workstation Player. So we can download this via the Mega Mirror or the Google Drive. It really doesn't matter, guys. You can hit download anyways. It's 2.7 gigs. So again, this is kind of why I downloaded all this before the video, because I didn't want to pause or wait this long in the video to download all that. So we're going to hit cancel there. Awesome. So now we have everything we need. So now let's go to our VMware Workstation Player. I'm going to bring it up right here. I'm going to put this in full screen. In here, what we'll actually do is exit off here, and I'll show you what it looks like. I have the Pro version, okay, guys? But it's going to be the same concept. My Pro version, I'm going to have multiple tabs, but the free version won't have that, okay? But you're still going to have VMs here, or it's going to be empty since you don't have any. So as you can see, this is the EVE-NG instance I use for all my labs and for this course. But I'm going to go through a fresh install of the EVE-NG VM. So let's go ahead and do it. And during this install, I am going to have to pause the video because it does take a little bit for the initial install of the EVE-NG VM, but that is okay. So what we're going to do here is go to File, and we're going to hit Open. And let me just back out of this full folder structure here. So if we go to my EVE-NG setup folder, you can see right here, I'm just looking for all supported files. So I'm going to come here to my Eve folder, go in there again, and then you see this OVA. And I'm going to click Open here. And again, I installed this straight from the EVE-NG website. So I'm going to give this a name. There's going to be a name for the actual virtual machine. And I'm going to click Import. So this is where I am going to pause the video, guys, because it does take a while for that import to happen. So I'm going to pause the video, and we'll come back when it's done.